Hello, my name is Antonio Lopez Jr. and this is this is the midterm 2 of CSC 300. And for this assignment, we have to create the battleship game using GUI. And so I'm gonna run the code and show you how the GUI looks, and then I will show you all the classes and stuff in the code. So here, when we first start, we are asked choose a grid size, 15 by 15. We'll go with that one. Basic, and then we'll put in manually. And so at the top, choose a number of ships, and cannot exceed 112. 112 being the half of the total grid size. So you cannot have more ship spaces than half of the grid size. And so now let's put in some values in here for the ships. Put in 2 and 2, 2. And so now our ship count is at 10. And then after creating 2 battleships and then 2 carriers, our ship count is now at 18. And then let's enter the destroyers. Our ship count is now at 24, 30, and then yeah, that's it. It didn't exceed, so then we're good. And so now once we didn't exceed the half of the grid size, we're then going to get up to another GUI, and it's going to ask us to place our ships. It's going to ask us what direction you want to go, so horizontal or vertical, and then you're going to choose a coordinate. And so we're going to go with horizontal. We're going to go with A1, check coordinate, and now you see that it's on the grid. And so let's go with another one. Okay. Yeah. But anyways, this code is not entirely done. But as you can see, that if I just go straight down, it's gonna play some, but I still have to. Yeah, it's not finished basically. But the idea is that you'll place all the ships that you've created in the previous GUI, and then you'll place them all on here, and then once you're done placing them, you will be able to play, as you'll see in a bit. And so now let's run this again. We'll go 12 by 12 this time. We'll go basic, and then here we showed you the manually, but basically, actually hold on, we'll go manual again, but I'll show you what happens if you were to exceed the ship node count up top where it says cannot exceed. And so this time our cannot exceed is 72. So if we were to put in -1 in here, that'll say an invalid number. And then if we were to put in, let's say, a number that's over, it'll also be invalid. And then it's going to take us into the battleship GUI, which is going to allow us to play the game. And so basically in the earlier where we were going to place our ships, once we're done placing our ships, this is where we want to be at, right here. And so just to show you how this works, it shows off 4 grids, and then we have 3 coordinates to attack. And so here we're going to attack at A2 since there's ships there on the computer defensive grid on the bottom left, as we see. So then we'll go A, 2, 3, and 4. And so whenever we click on this button, if the button is a valid coordinate, it's gonna disable the button, and it's not gonna let you do anything with it until the other 2 are pressed and you have clicked the next round, basically. And this button, next round, will only work once there have been 3 valid inputs in here. And so as you can see, boom, 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 3 are valid. We can't do anything with them no more. And if we click next, it works. And so there's that going. And so if we keep on going to A5, A6, and then let's purposely miss. So let's go to A1 this time. That's valid, that's valid, that's also valid. But this time it'll say that A1 is a miss, other than A5 and A6 is a hit. And then on the top right, you see our player attack grid. It is updating with every shot that we make. And so that's pretty much the game. The game ends whenever all of the ships have been hit, but I have not finished, so I have not coded that yet. So that's all I have for now. Show you a little more. If we go 10 by 10, if we go to manually, ships cannot exceed is 50. 1, 1, 1, 1, and then also you can go with 0. Don't have to be, you know. And I have to fix that, but basically, yeah. So after vertical works. Oh well, there you go. I mean, it's kind of broken, but you get the idea. It's yeah, it's supposed to print it out, which it did. Um, but that's it. That's the code right there. Now on to showing the, or not the code. Sorry, that's just the whole game. Now to show the code. So this is the first GUI, which is basically the choose grid, and so this is all I have in here. So if the button 10 by 10, which would be clicked, this will execute. 12 by 12 button click, this will execute, and 15 by 15, this will execute. And so after each button is pressed, it's going to bring us on to our second GUI, which is the choose computer difficulty. And in here it's just pretty basic, just setting the difficulty with 1 or 2 depending on what button pressed. And then it's gonna destroy that current GUI, and then it's gonna call the third GUI, which is the choose the placement of the ships manually random. So if we go here, if our manually button is clicked, we only we set up the computer grid, we dispose the third GUI, and we call the fourth GUI, we set it visible. But if the random button is pressed, then we auto set up both the player and the computer grids, and we disable or we dispose the third GUI, and we just call the battleship GUI or just the game. We're ready to play at this point. And so now if we were to click on the manually button, that takes us to the fourth GUI, which is our inputting our boats. And so in this one, it's a little more code because we have to check the inputs now, having to check to see if numbers exceed, if they're valid numbers. And so when you press the carrier button, all of this is going to execute, and then yeah, it's a lot. Then this is for the battleship, or not for the battleship, for the battleship, sorry. And it's all the same code, it's just a little tweaks here and there. So basically a lot of the information is just changed to just depending on the ship type. So a lot of the stuff that's changed is the size. That's pretty much the only difference with all of this, just the size being changed for a lot of it. So that's it for this. And then once we have a valid input, or if we have a valid input, then it's going to go to the fifth GUI, which is this one where we place our ships, which was kind of broken. But basically this is all the code. With this one it's a lot more. This is what I couldn't finish. This is where I just left off for the night today. But yeah, if the due date was extended again, maybe I could finish it, but I doubt it's going to be extended twice. Okay, so yeah, that's the fifth GUI. And so whenever we get a valid number, whenever we get a valid grid, whenever it's ready to go, then it's going to go to the battleship GUI, which is this one. And so this one is a lot more, because now we're setting the hits on the grid, and we have to print out a bunch of grids. You have to check each button. Here is where we're checking the buttons and seeing if they're valid coordinates. Same here, just a second button and then a third button. And then here we're checking, this is our next round button, so this is what's updating everything. It's checking to see if the 3 buttons have been pressed. And yeah, So pretty much that's all of the code.